Hey, what's up? It's Chris from chrisbeatcancer.com, and I am here with my friend, Dr. V. That's Dr. Veronique Desaulnier.
Very good.
Yes, thank you. I've been working on my French, and that's why I got her name right. So we're in San Diego.
Yes.
We are at the Cure to Cancer conference that was put on by Integrative Health. Is that right? Integrative Health?
I think so. Panacea Community, Integrative Health.
Yes. I just want to make sure I don't get the name wrong. So anyway, it's been an amazing event. For anybody that, obviously there will be people watching this that did not attend the event, did not live stream, and I'll put a link below because I believe it'll be available. And the speaker lineup was absolutely phenomenal. So much incredible information for people that either have cancer or want to prevent it or know someone that does. This has been an awesome, awesome event. So I'll put a link to where you can get access to those videos below this video. Okay, so Dr. V and I spoke together also last year in Atlanta at the Healing Strong event, and I wanted to interview her then. I didn't get a chance to, and so here we are doing it today.
Yay.
Yay. Now, she's got an awesome survivor story, natural healing, breast cancer, and so she's going to take a few minutes and just tell her story, and we'll talk about some really interesting stuff that I have never talked to anyone about before. So let's do it.
Okay. Well, I'll give you the short version. We'll jump forward to 2004, when I was, at that point, I was in practice for 24 years as a bioenergetic chiropractor. I was literally attracting people from all over the world with the type of work that I was doing. I did bioenergetic testing. I worked with all kinds of cancer patients, autoimmune, MS, you name it, and people were getting amazing results. And it wasn't what I was doing, but they were applying the principles and the laws of nature. So I'm getting ready for work, and I jump in the shower, and I feel this lump in my left breast, and I knew innately that it wasn't a healthy breast, a healthy lump, and I had it tested with non-traditional forms of testing, and it was confirmed.
What did you use?
I used bioenergetic testing.
Yep.
And I had a friend of mine who was a medical doctor in Florida, and tested it, and jumped on the bandwagon with homeopathic remedies, herbal tinctures. Definitely tweaked my diet, did some detoxification, colonics, high dosages of pancreatic enzymes, and I also applied a black salve or paste on the tumor. And for those people who don't know what the black salve is, basically it's a paste, it's a concoction of different herbs, but the main ingredient is bloodroot. And bloodroot is what I refer to as herbal chemotherapy because it has a plant chemical in there called sanguinarine, and that has been in published studies. You can Google that and see the studies done on it, but it actually kills cancer cells without harming the healthy tissue. So I applied that on the breast, and unfortunately I used an inferior type of salve, and it didn't do the job the first time. So I let the wound heal, kept working on myself for the next 2 years. My journey went from 2004 through 2006, but the tumor kept growing, and I monitored it again with thermography this time and more bioenergetic testing, and realized it was time to apply the salve. But this time I had done my research. I found a reputable company who'd been doing this for 15 years and had great support, and here I am since 2006, happy, healthy, and very, very clean.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so questions about black salve that I'm sure people have. I'll tell a little bit about it, and then you can fill in the rest. But this is it's like a black herbal paste. You put it on topically. It can also be taken internally, but most of the time you hear people using it about a tumor they can feel, like a lump, right? And it literally burns through. It's painful. I mean, it burns through your skin. It burns into the cancer, and it actually, it's an escharotic, so it basically separates the tumor from the rest of your body, and it's a very painful, like wound, sore situation. And then eventually, after usually a few weeks, the tumor will literally fall out, and it'll leave like a crater, which will usually heal up pretty nicely. And I mean, a lot of the stories I've heard that the scarring can be very minimal.
Minimal, if it's done properly.
If it's done properly. But how big was yours? Was pretty big. She has in her talk. She has pictures. You know, they're kind of graphic, but it was pretty big.
Yeah, but it felt like a pea or a marble, but it came out was the size of a golf ball.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
what I saw.
That's the thing, and I've seen women who've had tumors, maybe the size of a small golf ball, but it ends up being much, much larger because what the beauty of the salve is that it gets to the core and to the root of the cancer. And it's, as Chris mentioned, it's extremely painful, so I advise you, don't try this on your own. Don't experiment with it and just to use it to see if you have cancer. Always use the salve as a last resort because it's no different than just getting a lumpectomy. You have to correct the internal cause of what brought you to the point of cancer in the first place.
That's right. And too many people just address the physical side of cancer, either whether they're doing conventional treatments like surgery, chemo, radiation, or even if they're doing natural treatments like changing their diet or black salve. Again, the physical part of cancer is important, but cancer is not a singularly physical disease.
Correct.
It involves your mind, your emotions, your spiritual life, and it's deeper in your body than just a tumor. And so it really requires a life change.
Absolutely.
A total life change. And an important question to ask is, why am I sick? You need to ask yourself, if you have cancer, why am I sick? And so why did you get sick?
That was a very good question. And that's one that I asked myself because as I was going through that journey, here I was, Dr. V, and I was getting, amazing results with all my patients, but why would somebody like me develop cancer? I had home births, I breastfed all my kids, I was under chiropractic care, ate organic before organic was in style.
Doing everything right.
So I thought.
Yeah.
Right.
What's left?
So there was pieces of the puzzles that I missed, and that's what I did. I really, dug deep, soul searching, did a lot of research, and realized that for me, the emotional piece was a huge piece of the puzzle that I kept neglecting and kept pushing aside. I thought I had done some emotional healing, but obviously there was a lot of things that I wasn't handling properly. I wasn't managing my stress well. I also discovered that I had a cavitation, which is basically when you get a tooth pulled and it's not cleaned out properly, there's a pocket of pus and bacteria that develop, and that cavitation was on that left side, same side as the breast.
That's very common, by the way, with root canals and also silver fillings, that women, and men too, but women can develop tumors on the same side of their body as they have a root canal. It's very important to get that stuff out of your mouth.
Yes. And then there were other things. I realized I was very iodine deficient. I was very sensitive to electro pollution.
And can I also
Sure.
interrupt you again?
Sure.
Iodine helps your thyroid, right? It helps regulate the thyroid, and your thyroid is a critical part of your endocrine system, and breast cancer is an endocrine tumor. And so when you have an unhealthy thyroid, it affects your endocrine system, which also includes your uterus and ovaries, if you're a woman, and your prostate if you're a man. And so that's where the iodine connection comes into play, right?
Absolutely. And just a little side note on that, there's studies that show that women who take thyroid medication are twice as likely to develop breast cancer than those who don't. So there's definitely a thyroid breast cancer connection.
Yeah, that's serious. And there's a lot of women we could do a whole video just on the thyroid,
yes.
But there's a lot of women with thyroid issues, and a lot of it's related to iodine, but also pollution from chlorine and fluoride and bromine, which is an additive in a lot of processed food. That's all I'm going to say about it in this video.
That's for another video.
Yeah. Look up Dr. David Brownstein. He is an expert on iodine and healing the thyroid.
Yes.
So tell me more about the emotional stuff that was going on in your life that you kind of realized was a factor.
Well, the research that I'd done and the soul searching and the reading, Louise Hay, love her book. It really, really helped me to recognize that, number one, I had to learn to love myself, to forgive myself. I also realized that I was sexually abused, and I didn't know that until my late 40s, early 50s. And when I called my mother and asked her about it, she was shocked. She says, how could you remember that? You were 3 to 5 years old. But there was
Wow.
a convicted pedophile who was our next door neighbor. My sisters knew about it. And
So
so
crazy.
yes, that was a big piece for me to really understand that, because that sexual abuse just really caused a lot of problems in relationships and not trusting people and not loving myself, the guilt, the shame, all those things.
Mm-hmm. And negative emotions all create stress and anxiety. And when you have a sick heart and a sick spirit, right? And unhappy and all these emotions, unhappiness and depression and anxiety and fear and unforgiveness, all of those negative emotions, they're not just in your head, right?
Correct.
They translate into your body, and they will produce a sick body. Even if you're a super health and wellness, expert, eating organic, eating a raw vegan diet, or whatever you're doing, your emotions are more powerful. They will overpower your body, even if you're eating healthy. And I think that's the component that many people are missing, right?
That's
When they
true.
try to heal. They just think, oh, I'm just going to change my diet, or I'll do all this stuff, or I'm going to do all these conventional therapies, but they don't address their past and their
present,
well, yeah,
how they handle
yes.
stress.
Yes, they don't address all the stress, and they don't address their problems,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Trying to bury their problems.
Correct. And, there's an interesting connection, because inside the brain there's a center called the limbic center. That's the emotional center of the brain. And it's directly connected to your major glands, the pituitary hypothalamus, which directly affect your hormones and your immune system. So think negative, sad thoughts, you're going to suppress your immune system. Think positive, happy, connected, joyful, peaceful thoughts, it boosts your immune system. Huge connection.
Focus on good things. And it's easy to get in the habit. And then this was my problem too. I mean, and most of the things she's talking about, I didn't have any abuse as a kid, but I mean, the negative emotions and insecurities and really not liking myself and being really critical of others and judgmental and like all that stuff I had. And you have to realize that you can catch yourself in the middle of those emotions and stop them, right? In the middle of those thoughts. A lot of us just run those thoughts without, we just dwell on things, right?
Right.
And we let our thoughts control us. But you can control your thoughts, and you can
Absolutely.
choose to think about things that inspire you and that are happy and to be grateful and thankful, as opposed to thinking about all the things you wish you had or think you need or regret.
And it's true. It's all about choice. You can choose to be happy. You can choose to be bitter or better.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing, especially when you're going through a cancer journey, or if you want to prevent cancer, because there's a huge emotional connection. And learning to be happy, learn to connect with your creator on a daily basis. Learn to meditate and to still your mind. They've shown, so many studies that show when you can calm your mind, calm your stress, your immune system gets boosted and you can control your thoughts. Happiness is a choice.
It is a choice. You have to choose to be happy, and I think gratitude is the secret to happiness.
Very true.
It really is. When you really take stock on how good your life is, and if you're watching this on the internet, I'm going to tell you, your life is better than most of the people on earth. You have more. Life is better. That's kind of relative, but you have so much to be thankful for. If you have a TV and a computer and a house and clothes and food anytime you want to eat, you've got a pretty great life and a lot to be thankful for. And focus on those things. And when you compare yourself to people that are less fortunate, it really amps up your gratitude and your thankfulness. When you compare yourself to people that have more than you, it makes you unhappy.
That's right. That's right.
It just does. And so you have to shift your focus off of, look at them and everything they've got and, well, I deserve more, into, wow, I'm so thankful that I'm not homeless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm so thankful I don't have to stand on the curb and ask for money with a sign, really, truly, I'm so thankful.
Yes.
I can't imagine how difficult that must be.
Yes.
So let's talk about your book.
All right.
I've got a copy. Here it is. See if we can get that in the camera. Heal breast cancer naturally. 7 essential steps to beating breast cancer. And she's got a phenomenal talk. And you will hear it if you actually download these videos from the conference. But she covers these, the 7 essential steps in her talk, but in much greater detail in the book. And you said something like you have like 500 scientific study references in your book, right?
Yeah. I'm really proud about that because, you know, a lot of people that are used to being in the conventional mode of treatment, you know, they don't really know that there's science backing evidence-based natural medicine and
Right.
the power of the medicine and how it works. And so it was very important for me that when people read my book, that if I quoted something about curcumin and how it killed cancer cells, or vitamin D, or selenium, that they could look up that reference and know that it's a published study and it's a fact. It's not just new age fluff, but this is pure science.
Yeah, it is science. And it's funny how this is a branch of science that is largely ignored in the conventional medical system. They ignore nutritional science, and they're only interested in science that leads to a drug that can be patented. Okay? And so it's really, and frankly, we're getting very close to the time where they're not going to be able to get away with this is science-based medicine, or this is evidence-based medicine, because the world is starting to catch on that they're ignoring all the nutritional science data and all the nutritional science evidence and lifestyle medicine evidence, published peer-reviewed studies in major journals that have existed, you know, for decades, right? But we're in the information age like never before, and so all this stuff is available for you and I and Dr. V to find and read on PubMed, and it's amazing.
And it's interesting because one of the quotes that I have in my book is from the American Scientist Pharmaceutical Studies, and they themselves say that 90 to 95% of cancer is preventable through lifestyle and diet. I mean, the pharmaceutical company is saying that, so they know, but as you said, there's no money in patent. You can't patent an herb or a food, so that's not the direction they're going in. Unfortunately, we know the cancer industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's a, you know, roaring train going down the track, and it's not going to stop.
No, they're making too much money doing what they're doing. They don't need a cure. You know, there's no financial incentive to cure it because they're making hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. I mean, it's really a $1 trillion industry just treating cancer, right, with these therapies that aren't curing most people. So what incentive is there? You know, they don't really need to cure it. It's just, you know, the search for a cure, racing for a cure. The truth is cancer is it's many, many hundreds of different diseases, and there'll never be one cure for something that's hundreds of different diseases.
Right.
But the great thing is your body can heal, and you don't have to understand how. You just have to understand that it can, that it's possible, that it created cancer, that it can heal it. But you have to change your whole life, right?
You do, and it's lifestyle choices, and that's one of the things that I address in my book, the 7 essential steps. It's all about taking personal responsibility for your health, because the doctor's not going to cure you. You have to change your lifestyle. You have to change your eating habits. You have to manage your stress. Follow the 7 steps, and the body heals. You know, when you cut your finger, you don't think about, oh, is it going to heal? You just know that it does. The same thing, the same power, the power that made the body can heal the body. And that's exactly what happens when you give your body what it needs.
You know, it's so funny, too. Most people don't even realize that, you know, your doctor doesn't even know your name. You know, if you saw your doctor out at the grocery store, they would not know your name. Unless you've been to them for 15 or 20 rounds of chemo or whatever, then they're going to remember your name.
Right.
But most of us are trusting our lives to someone that doesn't know us at all, has no idea what our life is like, and really doesn't even know your name. They just read it on the chart before they walked in the door.
Yeah.
It's just funny to me. You know, it's funny. It's sad and funny.
Yeah, and that people, you know, entrust their lives with that.
Yeah. It's amazing. But we're changing that. We're changing that. We're, you know, empowering people to heal themselves. Buy this book. Buy it. I'm not being paid to endorse this book. I really, really love Dr. V. She's awesome.
Oh, thank
And
you.
I'm super excited about reading this myself because I'm just a geek about research anyway, and I'm just a constant learner. You have to keep learning. You have to keep learning. You have to keep growing. You never know it all. And sometimes the things you think you know are wrong. And it's just important to keep reading and researching and learning, and the more you read and the more you research, the more things make sense, and you really start to get a good grasp on truth and fiction and what is actually working for people. I think the best people to learn from are survivors. I would much rather interview 100 survivors than 100 doctors any day of the week.
Right.
Not that I can interview 100 people in a day, but that's who we learn from. We can learn from each other, from the experience of others. I don't need any scientific studies. I just need people that have healed. Tell me what you did,
Exactly.
But I geek out on the studies too.
Right.
Because they validate.
They do.
Oh, this is why it worked.
And knowledge is power, and that's why it's so important. My mission, my passion is to empower women and people to prevent and to heal, and give them the 7 tools. Number 1 is food. Number 2 is detox. Number 3 is balance your energy, proper sleep, exercise. Number 4 is heal the heart. Number 5 is the dental connection. Number 6 is learn about all the herbs and the foods that can heal your body. And 7 is early detection. There are blood tests and there are different technology tools out there that can detect cancer on a cellular level before it develops into a lump or bump, which takes 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, for most cancers, it can be very slow growing. Occasionally, you'll have something that grows fast, but for most cancers, it's been growing a long time, and you don't have to rush into treating it. It's not going to explode overnight, and don't fall into the trap of being rushed into doing something you don't understand, you're not comfortable with, and really goes against your gut instinct, right? And so, take time, relax,
yes.
Don't be afraid, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, well, Dr. V, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your awesome story.
Thank you.
And again, here's her book, third plug here, Healing Breast Cancer Naturally, Heal Breast Cancer Naturally. Is it on Amazon?
It is.
Okay, good. Amazon's a great place. I'll put a link to it. And then she also is available for coaching. So again, she coaches people all over the world. She's in practice, so this is someone you can reach out to if you want more information, especially on black salve or anything that we've talked about. So I'll put a link to her site below the video as well. Okay, well, that wraps up this edition of Chris Beat Cancer. And check out my website. It's chrisbeatcancer.com. Lots of survivor stories. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook or somewhere, tons of info on nutrition and natural therapies, especially scientific research. And subscribe to my YouTube channel. And please share this video.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay.
See ya.
Bye.